Hello, everyone. This is Victoria Vesna, and you're listening to Vibrations Matter. In this episode, I'm excited to share with you my conversation with JoAnne Karl, one of the three sisters who have been devoted caretakers of the Integratron since the year 2000. Alongside Nancy and Patty, JoAnne has played a vital role in preserving and evolving this extraordinary site in the Mojave Desert, a place where sound, science, and spirit, mystery converge. I first walked into the Integratron in 2003, and from that moment on, it became a central point in my ongoing exploration of sound, frequency, and environmentalism. The acoustics inside the dome are unlike anything else you experience. They're perfectly resonant, deeply immersive, otherworldly. The structure sits on an intersection of powerful geomagnetic ley lines. It's design rooted in esoteric science, and it's inspired by Tesla technologies and the enigmatic visions of George Van Tassel, who famously connected the building to UFOs, the extraterrestrial transmissions. Over the years, I have returned again and again. I've staged immersive artworks there, like the Blue Morph that explored sonic and spatial resonance, and I brought with me artists, scientists, and Tibetan monks. Each experience deepened my sense of the Integratron as a unique site for experimentation, reflection, and healing. Today, it's known widely for sound baths performed with crystal bowls, drawing people from around the world to bask in the frequencies. And yet, beneath the surface, the dome still hums in mystery, the unsaid, the unproven, and the profoundly felt. JoAnne shares her remarkable journey from a career in medicine, specializing in cardiology, the heart, and witnessing the transition from analog to digital technologies, to becoming a guardian of this unique sonic architecture. In our conversation, she reflects on how the shift from working with the physical heart to the energetic space of the Integratron was both unexpected and deeply aligned. Enjoy. I am beyond ecstatic to talk to you. I love you so
Thing.
much, and it's been decades now. It's been so long that
Mm.
we've known each other, we've crossed our paths. But I never really asked you some of the questions that I'm going to ask you now. And that is, how did you get here? In other words, if you go back in time and you think of yourself as a child playing and then thinking about what eventually got you to be in medicine and the medical profession, healing, and eventually being in this other space of healing. What was some of the kind of aha moments that you can share with us?
It's such a good question. Reflecting on it, and we were just talking about this because I'm about to turn 71. So that when I was in high school speaking to a guidance counselor about possibilities to what would my career be, in those days it was you can be a nurse or you could be a teacher. That was it. There was no, and I thought about going farther, but she was like, well, if you go farther, you won't be able to have time to get married and have children. And when I think of that, it was just a fact. I
Oh
didn't
yeah, yeah.
question it.
This was the reality. The only reason I was allowed to study art is because it would be a nice thing to get married with.
Right, right. So
Boys were not allowed to study art.
it was accidentally on purpose, but as I've grown older, I realize nothing is an accident. Everything that happened happened. the trajectory of my life. I am hurtling through space, but with some intention. And so I just went blindly into the night for the most part. But I was always interested in the invisible spectrum.
Mm.
I watched Twilight Zone, not the ghosty horror stuff, but the more nuanced paranormal things were always interesting to me. But, in those days, if you couldn't find it on the three channels in television or go to a bookstore, go looking. So I think it became more about experience. And I think the
Mm.
great blessing was my relationship with my sisters, and that we were together, we were very brave and really on the tiny branches. When we were together, we felt brave.
Where are you in the sisters?
I'm
You
the
were,
oldest,
you're the
which I
oldest.
never
Okay.
admit to, but I'll admit here. I guess it's out now.
It's
But I'm
out.
the
That's
oldest.
it.
And then Nancy and Patty is the youngest. And Patty and I are 5 years apart.
Oh, cool. So you're
But
all
when I
pretty
became,
close, actually.
we're pretty close in age,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I became very interested in out of body travel.
Mm.
And by grace, and I believe that my whole life is a conspiracy of grace. There was a doctor that I knew through my job who was very involved in identifying the type A personality.
Mhm.
And he happened to know somebody who had worked with Robert Monroe, who wrote the seminal book on out of body travel. And I dragged my sister to a meeting. He set up that this man could come and meet us, Walter. I'm
Mhm.
sure he's in heaven now. He was just an amazing person. And he came to my home, and I think I was probably in my 30s, and taught us how to travel out of body with skill. And we did it. He also told us not to talk about it.
Mm.
That whatever
Mhm.
your experience is, make sure you take it deeper. It's funny, multiple spiritual teachers in my life would say,
Yes.
get it for yourself and then tell other people. Think about what,
Unless people ask, right? If people specifically
yeah,
ask.
because it was a little weird.
Oh, especially then. But
Yeah.
wait, just back up for one bit. What was your job? How did you land there with
I
this?
was so lucky. I graduated as a nurse, and I worked on a unit for a while. And then I was lucky enough to get a job in medical technology, in cardiac medical technology,
Mm.
when the analog to digital movement was happening.
Mhm.
So that it was possible now to collect lots of ECG data and run it through algorithms and get some very fast collated and correlated snapshots of cardiac activity. I geeked out. I thought it was the most amazing thing. And as a matter of fact, the main engineer on the project, we were kids, um, kind of. The main engineer married my sister Patty. He's like one of my
Oh,
oldest, dearest friends. So it was a real
tight-knit
wonderful,
world.
small, I would call it a startup project, very well
Right.
funded. And the chairman of the board was an IBM fellow
And where was this
in Florida,
location?
Boca
Florida.
Raton, Florida.
Interesting. Wow.
So
I-
because it was a small company, I kind of came up through the ranks.
Yes.
I didn't even
Amazing.
know how to type.
Mm.
And my boss told me if I learned to type, I would never have a secretary. So don't learn, which I still haven't. I still type like this.
That is so funny.
Just the weird things that happen in your life. That would have been nice to learn when I was
That's a
younger.
very male advice, right?
It is, but I had two secretaries by the time I left the company,
There
so
you
I was
go.
lucky.
So he
But
was a feminist.
a little bit. So anyway, that was kind of my job. I traveled quite a bit for my job.
Hmm.
So I spent a lot of time at 30,000 feet.
And this
So I
was in
just
the 70s, 80s,
late
80s?
70s and 80s.
Right, when the digital stuff started happening. Right, right.
Yes, yes. But we were
This,
still reading books.
I know this time. I mean, this is when I was digitizing videos, for the first time and putting things together. And then somebody said, "Oh, you do computers." So I didn't realize I was actually using computers.
Right.
I was just transferring stuff the way I was told, touch this button, that button. And it's like, oh, we're doing this. Yeah, it was an exciting time. And
Yes.
it was wonderful for you to be so lucky to be on that wave. And with the heart. How
Yes.
gorgeous is
Yes.
that?
It
With
is.
the heart.
It is.
Yeah,
Which I was seeing from a very different place
exactly.
at that time.
Exactly.
But it's all I did for a very long time was just look at ECG images of the heart and all
Wow.
of the small pieces and algorithms. And I still love it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And you worked with patients directly, like with,
No,
you
I worked
didn't.
for a company
Oh,
that
you were
made,
doing research. You were
yeah, well,
doing,
I worked in research and development for the company
I
that
see.
made a device where the patient could wear
Ah,
electrodes and through a device transmit their data
got it.
that could then be docked into a machine and collected and then uh, send out reports. So we worked with the University of Alabama and some of the best heart surgeons. I mean, I was really privileged to meet so many
Amazing.
people, and
Amazing.
Michael DeBakey, and just incredible, um, highly accomplished doctors. And it was interesting. Most of them were MD, BSEEs. They had electrical engineering degrees, which they felt like they needed to control,
Mm-hmm,
um,
mm-hmm.
or to learn how to all these machines were working, because everything that they were using on patients required a significant amount of just understanding what was going on inside the black box. So my job was really to elucidate what was going on inside the box. The data comes in here, this happens, and then this comes out. So I was more,
Interpreting the data, right? You
yes,
were,
and
yeah.
helping make sure that it was actually good, real good data, and something that they could work with. But it was the speed at which they could collect the data. The old way they did it was to have the patient wear something for 24 hours, and then somebody had to watch these speeded up tapes. It was a skill to quickly watch and look for abnormalities, but just with the human eye. But the
Wow.
machine wouldn't miss a thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
at the end of a report, you could say they had this many slow heart rate episodes, this many, anomalies.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it
Incredible.
was so fast. So hospitals were buying it quickly. And then my job moved into helping the hospital floors integrate it into their protocols and
Mm-hmm.
teaching nurses and doctors how to use it, and also troubleshooting. I used to fly across the country with little EPROMs, before downloading and uploading and sending things. I'd have to fly with a little chip and open up a machine and stick it in there
Cool.
to upgrade the machine. It's very Barney Rubble when you think about it from
But
today's
think
world.
about compared to what's going on now, especially with AI. I mean, you can have all of it on your watch, right?
How did we ever get anything done? No
You
cell
know,
phones.
honestly, there's good and bad sides to it, right?
Yes, I agree.
Obviously.
I
Yeah.
agree.
How to find the balance.
Yes,
Amazing. So you kept doing this for a while, right? You were in
I
this
did.
world for
I
how
did.
long?
I would say more than a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And then my company they acquired a company, and some of us had non compete agreements and had to move out of that company while they integrate. It was very complicated.
Right,
But
right,
I
right.
wound up getting transferred to just one of their other acquisitions that was studying a detoxified neurotoxin as a cure for ALS,
Wow.
which was crazy. And it was completely
Wow.
different from anything I'd ever done. And I got to meet some really beautiful people. They did do a study. They had a double blind study, so I got to work
Wow.
on that. And then the minute I could go back, I went back.
But this was still in Florida, the acquisition?
It was, yeah,
Uh-huh.
it
Okay.
was, yes,
So when in this decade or so did you meet, let's go back to the out of
yeah,
body. When did
yes.
that happen? Somewhere in between or?
Right in the middle of all that, we were able to meet Walter, who was a compendium of random knowledge about everything, and gave us the names of beautiful books I still treasure, uh, about where the mind meets the body and where the spirit, and how all that, it isn't body, mind, or spirit. It's they're all chunked
Mm,
together and you can't separate them, which was a bit of
that's
a
right.
revelation for me. And
Right.
so we got into meditation and fasting, and we were particularly drawn to um, meditation wearing earplugs and getting
Mm.
into the sound in our heads
Ah, okay.
and in sound in general, and in the incredible conspiracy of synchronicity and grace. I was lucky to meet people who turned me on to sensory deprivation tanks and sound beds and gel mattresses that you could lie on that sound could be put into, where you would not just hear
And
it,
this
but
was big in the 80s, 90s,
yes, it
right?
was. It really
Yeah.
was. Kind of
Yeah.
Duke Research Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people there and they were studying, you know, Eastern mystics.
Mm-hmm.
And I just became infatuated with just anything that wasn't mundane. Like it
Mm-hmm.
had my interest. If it was not mundane, I was interested in it.
So cool to have these two worlds kind of running in parallel,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And then they slowly started
yes,
converging.
yes. But I had that doctor who introduced us to Walter,
Amazing.
who was a little bit into that himself. So that helped me because I couldn't strip science away from everything.
Right.
If it
And we
wasn't,
shouldn't, right?
and
I
we,
mean,
to me, we shouldn't. For me,
no,
we shouldn't.
I
It was
agree
just part of
completely.
my working process
That's
that I
right.
could say to him, well, what is this? I wore the monitor and I did a meditation and my heart rate dropped to 47. Did I die? Like what happened? And so he would just explain on how some of that could be controlled, which was a new concept.
Right.
The idea of, for me, meditation was just making myself sit down for 15 minutes. I was a busy mother and I was working. I had
Right.
my little half hour or whatever it was, but it was usually 15 minutes. And for me, it was just, he said, you have to make everything disappear. You have to make
Mm.
everything go away. And I thought, why would I do that? Like I'm having a ball in here. I've got everything, time, energy, money, wisdom. I'm bopping around. I got my friends, I'm interested. Why would I take it all to zero? I've just built this massive
Right.
skyscraper. What part should I take out? And he said, I can't explain it, but you'll understand when it happens. And I was the world's worst meditator for many, many years. He would say, well, then if that's all you can do, then just plan. I would plan my son's birthday party. I would,
Oh, really?
my chore list, my to do list. until I went to the Integratron.
And how did that happen?
It was uh, yay that it happened. We had a friend in who I've completely lost track of, a man who owned a recording studio in New York City. And he said he was having a man come to speak, uh, like a spiritual teacher, subject. And so I went to, my sister and I went to see him in New York City. And, we're still New Yorkers. Like, just really, okay.
Yeah.
But he was such a cool guy, and he was sort of like a coach more than a mystic.
Okay.
He was very um, relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And he told us that he had just bought a building in the desert. I think he said near Palm Springs, uh, called the Integratron. And, if we were into sound, that the sound in there was something like we would never hear. And we should visit it.
Mm-hmm.
So my sister traveled a bit too. And so we always had free tickets. We could just jump on airplanes, and we flew to Palm Springs and jumped in a car and followed, there's no Google Maps. There's just some vague directions. And it took us a couple days to even
Wait, there's
find
the
it.
Thomas map.
Well, we didn't
Thomas.
really get it by a Thomas map for the local
You
desert.
just you just went.
We just went like, well, we'll find
Awesome.
it,
Yeah, yeah.
basically the town. And we started asking people,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we found it after being led on the biggest wild goose chase. Now that didn't you people know that this was in your town? Even like people who'd never heard of it, or
Really?
oh yeah, I mean this was 1987.
But still, it's
Yeah,
such an
so
iconic structure.
so it was like the scarecrow. Like I think it's that way. And, we drove all over the place and found it. And
And this is who? All three of you? All three
my sister,
sisters?
just Nancy,
Nancy and you. Yeah.
Nancy,
Yeah.
and Patty had little babies then and
Yeah. Yeah.
wasn't traveling as much. So, but our friend had said to us, when you find it, it's locked with barbed wire and gates. And so you have
Wow.
to steal the airplane blanket so that you can throw it over the barbed wire and get in.
Where do you steal it
I
from?
mean, we're like really the airplane.
Oh.
I mean, who steals an airplane blanket? I mean, I wouldn't even touch an
Oh
airplane
my
blanket
God,
now.
that's
I
so
used to, they
funny.
used to be my whoopee flying home, my airplane blanket.
That's so
And we
funny.
jumped over the gates and got into the Integratron. I think we had one combination till there were a series of 3 locked gates. We took all
Wow.
that down, and but I think you were there when some of those gates were originally
I
there.
do remember that, yes.
And we went in, it was not locked, and there was no electricity to it. And I have such a core memory. I remember every second of that,
Is that right?
just of finding it. And then, well, it was like it was the ultimate Wizard of Oz. It
Like
never,
a dream, right?
like a dream. We
Yes.
found it. And we're going to finally hear this sound that he says would blow our minds, which we were skeptical. But we did it anyway. We just went there. And we went upstairs. We heard the sound. We laughed so hard, like I think a little bit of a crazy laugh. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what did we just find? Like, what is this place? And as soon as we heard the sound in the center and just the acoustics, uh, we played with the sound, but we also meditated there. Was our
Mm-hmm.
inclination to sit and be quiet. And that's when I realized, be still and know that I am God. It was just nothing. I closed my eyes and there was nothing.
Wow.
Even though I wanted all the information and how do I find out about this place? I mean, pre Google, everything was just molasses. I got to go get a book about it. I got, So we were infatuated, and it's so funny because we remember sitting there and looking at each other and saying, we own this place.
Like right
Not from
away.
not from a we own it like a grant deed, we own it, but this is ours. Like everything about this is mine. And we developed almost like a personal relationship with the building. I don't know how else to describe
Like
it.
your home, right?
Like
You
our home,
arrived.
like
You
this is,
arrived.
we
Yeah,
couldn't live farther away from it.
that's true.
We couldn't.
Where was
And then I was,
Nancy? Nancy was in New
Nancy was
York.
in, we were both on the end of Long Island in the Hamptons.
Okay, wow.
We were so far
That's
away.
that's like a different world,
It's a
different
different
planet.
world. And there was no phone there and there were no cell phones. So we then became exhilarated that no one knew where we were. You know, once you become a mom, or even when you're a child, like you're tracked, people know where you are. Here's where I'm going. Here's where I
Right, right,
am.
right.
Um, no one on earth had a clue. We didn't even know where we were, but no one knew where we were. And that was, we just took off running. I mean,
Mm.
it was like Jumanji. It just that we ran off into the town and we started ask. I love old people, first of all. I think that they hold all those keys. That was Google back in that day. Let's go find the oldest person we can find in a restaurant and ask them questions. And that's when we found out that the man who built it said he got the instructions from UFOs.
Hmm.
And I mean, we laughed so hard. We just were like, what are we doing? It was so like we were children. All of our education and knowledge and was everything was just gone. We had no place to hang our hat. We were just wandering in the
Amazing.
desert. And we heard story after story. None of them corroborated, no way to fact check anything. It was just crazy and
Uh,
filled with grace. You know, that was it.
yeah.
And from then, that man owned it for 13 years and he offered it to us and we bought it as fast as we could.
So for those, he owned it 13 years before you met him, or
While we
yes,
knew him,
while
while we
you knew
knew him.
him. So how many more years passed before you ended up buying it from him?
13,
13 years, I see.
13 years.
Well, that's quite a bit of time.
It is. But we were
And
there
you
every
were there a
year,
lot. Yeah.
at least twice, and I would just give him my per diem,
Uh-huh.
you know, as like a rent when you had to write a
Okay.
check and put it in the mail and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
send it, you know, but we would just give anything to be there. It was very, the infrastructure was very fragile and
Oh
raw.
God, yes.
Yeah, no
And
tree. He had planted trees.
uh-huh. So how often was he there?
He lived in LA for a lot of that time, so he was there quite a bit.
Uh-huh. And he
And
was doing
then,
recordings there, or what was?
no, he did sort of spiritual coaching work, was
I
kind of
see.
his thing,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe music events.
I
We didn't
see.
cross paths there very often, but when we
Yeah.
did, we'd always get like another nugget, like when he showed us Giant Rock,
Oh,
which we didn't even
yes.
know was out there. Oh, did you guys go out
Right.
to that Giant Rock? And we were like, Giant Rock?
What's that?
What's that? And he took us out there. We looked at it and said, oh my God, this is a giant rock. It's just giant. And then we were actually more into giant rock than we were the Integratron for a while.
Ah, that's really interesting.
I
Yeah,
don't know
because
why.
it's kind of like a meteorite. I mean, it really just
Yes,
kind of marked the mission, right?
yes, yes. We used to, and it's all desert roads, it's all public
Yeah.
land, BLM land. We would always have a rental car and we would park at the end of a long road that was facing Giant Rock, and we would put the car in drive and put the seats back and look at the sky and just roll down the street because we couldn't
Yeah.
hit anything, we couldn't
Oh my
crash. There was,
God,
so we
amazing.
did
Wow.
everything right to the edges of danger, honestly, at a
Yeah.
certain point. But we always felt so safe and so
Hmm.
connected. We heard
Mm-hmm.
sounds. We'd hear dolphin sounds out of nowhere. And we would just look at each other. We're sisters. Did you hear that? Like,
Right.
did you hear a dolphin sound?
And you both
So
hear the same
we
thing.
both would hear it. And so there was
Amazing.
so much of that happened that by then we were in between frames. That's what we used to call it.
Mm.
We'd go out there and we felt like we were living in between the frames of the movie of the world. We were just stopped. And in this peeking around and looking at all the things in between frames, and of course, working with sound, you know, there was a lot of phenomenon. Some I wouldn't even say, it's just insane. You'll lock me up in a crazy, there's no way. I
I
wouldn't
want to
share it.
hear some of this, whatever you're
No.
comfortable to share with. But I'm really curious, what was the work with sound that you started working with during that period of integrating with the Integratron?
Well, it was a couple of things. The first one was by the time we were at the Integratron for maybe 5 or 6 years that we had been visiting there, um, I had left my job
Mm-hmm.
and decided I wanted to take people on wild dolphin swims and mountain
Wow.
retreats. It was like I just wanted to share what was happening. Like, look what's possible. We had friends that were advertising, medicine, firefighters, like just all kinds of hedge fund people, that we
Right.
were just taking out into the middle of the desert that was really changing us all, you know. Um, I can remember, people walking up to us and saying, we're all connected. It sounds so cheesy, but when somebody actually gets it and it's a visceral and intimate temporal part of their experience, we all would get the chills. Like, oh my
Mm.
God, we are all connected, but how? And by what means? But sound was always a part of it. And in the process of going on the dolphin swims, my charter captain, we would go into the Bahamas, deep into the Bahamas, and swim with spotted dolphins who are very social, a little smaller
Wow.
than the ones a little smaller than Flipper,
Mm-hmm.
but very social in these mating grounds where it was blue water, white sand, as far as you could see or swim. It was not scary, it wasn't icky, there was no sharks, there was no danger.
Amazing.
It was a lot. It took a long time to get there. It was like 8 hours by our trimaran. But our charter captain also rented chartered boats to Texas A&M Marine Biology Division, and one of the women there, the professors, was created an array to collect dolphin sounds. And they were
Wow.
studying, how are dolphins communicating? What are these sounds? And she gave me 26 hours, a bag of cassette tapes, a bag uh, of just sounds.
Incredible.
I mean, there was no what was just sounds. And so Nancy and I took them to the Integratron, and the owner had put a um, stereo up there, which was kind of funny. Why would you put a stereo up here? But we were glad because we could play certain kinds of music. So we put the tapes in, Nancy and I. This happened twice. And it was new technology where you didn't have to sit up and turn the tape over. It would automatically play the second side. So we could get like a good amount of time to just sit there quietly and just get immersed in the sound. And the first time we did it, it was so incredible. And then we opened our eyes and we realized that the tape had stopped. The tape stopped. And like, where's the sound coming from? And as soon as we became aware that this isn't possible, it stopped. But those were the kinds of things that we just wouldn't tell anybody because why? But something happened. It somehow, the sound became engaged in the space, and it just hung there and stayed there, even though the cassette tape was off. And that did happen 2 times. And so we were very aware that we were not alone. And
Hmm.
we really honestly felt as though the building was self aware. I still feel that. Can't prove it. I don't even know what I'm saying. But there is, when I walk into the Integratron, it's me in the Integratron. It's not
Right.
me inside of a wood building. We're now
It
there's,
definitely feels like that. It
yeah,
definitely feels like it's got its own energy regardless, and it's a
yes.
conscious energy.
It
Absolutely.
is. It is.
And the
Yeah.
idea of dislocating sound from the ocean into the desert is just so powerful. And
Yeah.
to put it in the dome where it kind of holds it together and echoes, right? So it's
Yes.
actually just dolphins are
Yes.
speaking and
Yes.
sending their messages. It's very, very
Yes.
beautiful.
It was very organic. And we went off into the desert in our rental car. The people at the rental car agency used to chase us with their hands, like the cars were a mess, and we just drove all
You come
in the
back with
sand. It was a mess. Water bottles and candy wrappers, and it was just,
sound.
we were off on our own thing. But we did encounter, this was probably one of the biggest change points for both of us as people, because we would just park and stop, and we both became aware of a whale. We're in the
Mm.
desert, but even with our eyes open, we would look, and what if this was the ocean floor? What is going on? Why do we feel this whale? And Nan and I both got the message at the same time and compared. But we said, how do you stay on the earth so long? How are you have no predators, or what is your deal, you big whales? And the response was, the beginning is always now. And we heard it and we were like, wow, that's profound. But the more we thought about it, it just, so instead of reading a book about being here now, which we did read Be Here Now, of course, but was the concept of, it's just now and now and now and now and now. And we felt free from conjecture and when's it going to get better and when's it going to be more. And we were just so aware of, this is what you get, this is
And
it.
it's non-linear, right? It just is
It's
quantum. It's everything.
quantum's the word. Yeah, it was, everything was very quantum. So I mean, that's when we were just enchanted.
And then
Enchanted.
there's speaking of, well, there was I think you called it a kiva, right? Where
Yes, the underground
the
kiva.
underground, which I had the privilege to experience, you had to close it down, right?
We
After a
did.
flood or something.
We did.
But talk a little bit about those ley lines and the frequencies that get created from the ley lines
Yeah.
under, that is very deliberate, right? That location was very deliberately
I,
chosen.
well, the builder, George Van Tassel, said it was deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
So we sort of signed up for that with him.
Right.
I'm by no means an expert in energy lines, but I compare it to the meridians in the body that acupuncturists use, that
Mm-hmm.
there
Mm-hmm.
are pathways of energy that it's just not jello, but we're made up of these lines that have a name and can be
That's right.
used. And so over the years, many people have measured those lines at the Integratron.
Mm-hmm.
Physicists, dowsers, old guys with wood sticks, they call them or water witches.
Uh-huh.
Um, but there were definite places out there, especially driving around at Giant Rock, where we would become very aware of something spinning. there's something right here that's spinning, and where we would feel drawn to just follow a certain line, and we'd hear a buzzing sound. It was very real. It was very,
Yeah,
and then we'd go back to our jobs and back to our kids and
yeah.
our husbands, and there was just, we couldn't really talk about it. Couldn't,
Yeah.
why? We were still trying to figure it out, but life was just when we could get back to the Integratron. That was what it was. So to now be here and is the dream, a dream we would never have dreamed for ourselves because we wouldn't have dreamed it could happen,
Yeah.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It does. I mean, having having our dreams that's so much smaller than allowing the dream to
Right.
come to us, right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the Tesla coil that was never activated around the dome.
Oh, the armature. Well, the
Yes.
the Integratron was really meant to be, so it's a building.
Yeah.
It's made entirely of wood, 16 glued and laminated fabricated beams. Same company that built Howard Hughes's Spruce Goose, and Howard Hughes was an investor with George Van Tassel. So um, that's, I think, how they got all that connection. But it's a static building. It's all held together at the top. The oculus that's right behind your head
Right.
is like a ton of concrete in a composite ring. I think it's called micarta, but it's a very heavy composite. You know how you hold a meteorite and it's so much heavier than just a rock?
Right.
So it's the same with micarta. You hold a piece of wood and then you hold micarta, and micarta weighs so much more. So somehow he's got that whole thing up there, and it's held together like a puzzle
Amazing.
pieces at the top.
Not one
And then
nail.
not one nail, not used in the construction. And it has some flex in it. We've been
Mm-hmm.
in it for some earthquakes, and the
Mm-hmm.
view out the window changes and then it comes back. Well,
Wow.
how did that happen?
Wow.
Is something all going to crumble all around me? But
Oh.
then there's a shoulder. It's a two-story building, and at the shoulder where the two stories meet, there's a ring that goes around that was meant to be lifted on air and by little jets moved around, and on principles of fiction would were meant to make energy. So this so the Integratron, as George built it, was a primary energy device. It didn't use any energy from the electric grid or public
Mm-hmm.
utilities. And then the energy was meant to go into the top chamber. This is as much as we understand about it. And I think there are some missing pieces, but then it was meant to be transferred into an antenna field that's on the ceiling of the first floor. And people were, according to George, were meant to walk in the building through one door and walk out the other. And he claimed it would reset their geometry or rejuvenate them. He talked about the body as if it was a battery and then it needs to be charged. And this was
Mm-hmm.
all based on no grounded research in medicine. I mean, now there is, but when George was doing it, I mean, people really thought he was crazy. I think his own family thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, like really inspired. But he claimed he got it all from a UFO, a being, some sort of sentient being that told him how to do this. But he
Mm-hmm.
never completed it. He
Yeah.
died suddenly and a little mysteriously, and then all of the contents of the building disappeared. So whatever was in there, um, is gone.
Never to be retrieved.
Right now, it hasn't been
You
retrieved.
think it's still somewhere sitting?
I wonder. I mean, I just don't
Right?
know.
Yeah,
And
we
but I
don't.
also, just coming from science, that everything that George was doing on many levels has already been done
Right.
to the max, all of it, from Tesla coils and batteries and solar power and all these other
Right, right.
things. I mean, even his delivery system for air was PVC pipes, which was like a newfangled material for him.
Right.
But as soon as we touched them, they crumbled. So, we would maybe use something else, but then is this like putting a thimble in a giant diesel truck and driving it around? I mean, can you do this on a smaller scale now? What is
Why,
what
yes.
is it? And so I think our mom used to say, we came from a bit of a big family, and she would always say, food tastes better when you share,
Oh,
which is just,
nice.
some lie to make us want to share our food or whatever, but we did it. We always believed it. And so I think from that place, we thought, we don't know one damn thing about this place, but we know everything about this place.
Right.
We don't know anything, but we know everything. And so, in order to dip back into the past, um, was fanatics, conspiracy theorists, psychotronics. Some people seemed a little crazy, just in my nursing observation, just a little unhinged. And then so many of our friends were physicists at Stanford and, people that we could really talk to. And of course, my brother in law, an amazing electrical engineer who's built us all our own solar arrays at our homes. He understands a lot. But patching that back together has been, almost like an exercise in futility, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when you brought the Tesla coils out there on your
Yeah.
birthday. She's just had a birthday.
Oh,
Nikola
that was
Tesla's
amazing.
birthday.
Hmm.
So, but we had to notify the Marine base
That's
because one of the
right.
largest combat training grounds in the United States is
That's right.
right over there. I mean, it's just a few miles away. So we feel like maybe everybody's in on it, you know, the ley lines and
Yeah, I mean it remains protected somehow. And you're the guardians of it. That's how I see
yes,
you for sure.
yes. That's how we see ourselves.
Yes, I see it definitely as the guardians. So, how did the sound bowls come into it? How did you start doing that and sound
Oh,
baths? Like, what was the process? Did you just start doing it for yourself and then your
we did
friends
start
and
doing it for ourselves. Well, we were
right,
just interested in sound in
right,
general.
right, right,
And
exactly.
so any sound, um, and it would take us into chanting and the science of chanting and all of that. But we knew somebody who he told us about quartz crystal bowls.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a oncologist at Sloan Kettering in New York at the cancer hospital. He's passed away. But Mitchell Gaynor, and he used quartz bowls as an antidote to chemotherapy,
Oh, wow.
like before
Interesting.
Zofran and cannabis and whatever else that
Right,
we
right.
can now throw at chemotherapy. But this is what he did. And so we went into New York City and we went to a store called the Daily Planet that was filled with
I know that store.
dragon
Yes,
sculptures.
yeah,
And,
yeah. It's
we were
like
like, what are we doing? Like, we had to walk in and walk right back out. Like, I don't think I can keep a straight face. Like, what are we doing in here? We bought a bowl and took it to the Integratron. When you could take like anything on a plane, we just
right.
put it in a box and threw it over the thing. Took it to the dome, put it in the middle, played it, and it cracked all over the sides
No.
because of the feedback.
Bro, now I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we
Wow.
didn't laugh at that because it was like
No.
$300 even back then. Like, what did we just do? And then what is it doing to my skull? What is this place? are we going to just shatter? And we laughed even again, like, yeah, I'm shattered. I'm shattered. All my conditioning is shattered.
Right.
My weird viewpoints and my
Right.
prejudices and my perspectives and my separation. Um, but eventually we figured out not to do it in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had visitors since that we've said, don't put your bowls in the center of it. And they do it anyway. They
They
break.
do it anyway, and they
Yeah.
break anyway.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the logical people would say, why wouldn't you just do this in the center?
Of course. Yeah, no,
That's
I get
why.
it.
That's why.
That's, but it also tells you how these frequencies converge,
How
like
real.
in this, how real and how powerful.
Yeah.
Amazing. How many bowls do you have now? Do you have a
Now I think we
whole,
have 20, 21 or 22.
yeah, you have a
We
lot.
have to get really big bowls, like
Yes, they're
30 and
huge.
40 inches and just giant, because those low frequencies uh, are so much better up there because
Mm-hmm.
they move through the building. Like, they sort of roll through.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as we figured it out, um, we felt like we were rewiring our brains with sound.
Mm-hmm.
And both of us, Nan and I, had jobs that were like critical thinking kind of jobs. And so, through those years, we were all into like Mega Brain, if you remember that book, books like this thick, Mega
Yeah.
Brain, and everything that we could do to beef up our left right brain. We would
Right.
read upside down. I can still to this day read so fast upside down because we just
Really?
practice. Yeah, it's a useless skill, but I can do it. And also, someone said to us, well, the best way to really flip your right brain on is to take off driving with no plan and no directions. Something we would never do. Why would we waste our time? We were like that. Why
Right.
would we waste our time doing that? So we would do that, just drive around. And I mean, the people we met and the things that happened were just, it was, it was the Truman Show, is what it was. It was like the Truman, which I think I'm kind of into the simulator right now. So
Yeah, no, and then it slowly grew into really drawing people to those sound baths. The sound baths became the thing, right? I mean, it's
yes.
really the primary location for sound. Everybody, amazing. Now you say it to anyone, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, that's where they do the sound baths."
Oh,
And you have to book so much in advance, right?
yes.
So this to me
Yes.
is so incredible that
It
it's
is.
grown to
And
that,
no
right?
advertising,
Yes.
which was our experiment. Like, we already came from the TomTom line where you tell someone, and that's what we
Right.
called it, the TomTom line. But um we just thought, what if we just sit here? And it was difficult, and you knew us in those days where
Yes.
financially it was just a joke
Very,
show.
very tough. I mean,
A
it was
joke show because
so
the
much
infrastructure was
maintenance and
crumbling.
yeah.
But we just kind of kept on that way. And um, eventually more people would come, and then they'd come with their families, and they'd come pregnant and then bring the baby. And I mean, we just had so much. It's such a beautiful, real family place for us. And yeah, now it's off the chain. Now with social media, people knowing about it,
Oh yeah. And
you know,
Google, now you can't
and
even,
Google.
I mean,
Yes.
it'll find you right to the doorstep. So,
Yes.
but it has become a family thing, right? I
Yes.
mean, you're pretty much, it's a family
Yes.
run operation, which is also such a beautiful thing. I mean,
Yes.
last time I was there, I was really impressed by how everybody's just become part of it and
Yes.
is nurturing it and feeling the responsibility of it. They grew with
Yes.
it, right?
They did. And I think at the beginning, so now between Nancy and Patty and I, we have 5 kids.
Yeah.
And I have one, Nan has two, Patty has two. And one of Patty's daughters is there. But we just brought our kids in, like, we really need your help. But back in the day, when we first moved there, they didn't like coming there
Oh, really?
because they'd have to dig a big hole. They'd
Oh, it
get there
was
and we'd say,
work.
"Oh, the septic tank exploded. We just have to dig a hole before Thanksgiving dinner, or whatever." Everything, we were either too cold or too hot, or whatever it was. And now that they've been there, they completely get it. But at first, uh, they didn't like it very much. I'm sure they thought we were crazy. We thought we were crazy, but now it's
Now they
a
get
family
it.
business. Yes.
And you're also very picky about what you're allowed to have happen there, which I think is also important that you didn't commercialize it in a way that you could have, that and that your whole family feels that way, yeah?
Yes, and I think, to circle back, this is why vibrations matter, because I think in all of our work, we became very sensitive,
Right, exactly.
and right down to buying it. When we bought the Integratron, we had no business buying that Integratron. And everything and everyone said no.
Mm,
There was no plan, there was no budget, there was no money. We had just enough to buy it, and then what? It never occurred to us, oh, we'll just open it up and we'll do sound baths and people will come from all around the world. It'll be fine. It never. It wasn't. It was about kind of buying your church summer camp.
hmm.
And one of my favorite stories is that when we were buying it, um, now we were outside, we were back into the mundane with the lawyers and the 19-page contracts and all of this and buying this building. Nan lived in Marin County, the Bay Area. I lived in the Hamptons. It seemed free, the price. I mean, we were
Right.
living in places where a house cost $1 million for like a junky house, even then. So this was 2000. I remember talking to Nan on the phone. She was like, she was going to have to sell all of her stock in the company that she worked for, and it was a lot, and it was worth a lot.
Hmm.
And if she cashed it out, we could buy the Integratron. So you talk about faith.
Yeah,
And we just said,
completely.
why am I such a yes? I mean, it makes no sense. Nan, we still call her the spreadsheet queen. She's like an Excel queen. And we never even did it. We never even, well, what will it cost us? And, we had no
Right.
idea. We just said yes, we did it. And a week later, the stock market crashed and the stock was worthless. It
Wow.
was actually worthless, like $2 a share.
No, I remember the big
So
crash, right?
we
Oh my
pulled all
goodness.
that. So that's when we said, okay, yes is yes then. Like when we get a
I
yes,
mean, that's
it's
an
yes.
affirmation. You don't
It
need anything
is.
more,
Yes.
right? It's just,
It,
it's there,
it
it
was
is.
emboldening. It emboldened
Exactly.
us and empowered us to really trust that. So when
Hmm.
we get a no, it's just no.
There you go.
It's just no.
Even if
Why?
it seems like, wow, it's Hollywood, blah,
Let me
blah,
picture.
blah.
Well, we get a lot of that. Like we even say to people, a lot of producers and that kind of thing, people for filming, especially,
Right.
mostly because of the impact of the space,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
impact on the space with equipment and whatever. And maybe the one time where we said yes to a music video and we were kind of fans of the group a little bit, I guess. I can hardly remember it, but it was so long ago. And they were like, oh, yeah, it's nothing. We're just going to show up, a couple cameras, da, da, da. And they showed up with box trucks and can we take the windows out, or can we, they already
Oh,
started with all of can we paint the building or whatever they wanted to do.
right, right, right.
And that's when we went, okay, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
It was like a no and a half, so we turned it into a yes, but so no more of that. Which it's just easier to say no but we appreciate people asking. That's fine. And we also know that producers have to ask, and their job is to get a yes.
That's right. That's right.
So it's just a no. And we've even had, there was a producer in New York for MTV that we went up through the producers, and one after the other would call us, like going up the ranks to
Right.
the one who could get the yes. And this lady called. I'm calling her a lady. Why am I calling her a lady? She's probably 20 years younger than me. But she said, I'm calling from New York, and you might not understand how fast things go here. You know, I'm
Oh,
a New Yorker. I mean, I
please.
worked in the city. Like, who are you
Oh,
talking to right now?
please.
So I did have to, I just said, oh, I see. It's New York. And then I proceeded to hit her with mother effer no. I said mother effing no. You know, how many mother effing ways can I say no to
No,
you?
no, right.
And it was just like, that's when we just felt like that
But
was the
that's
right thing to do.
empowering too, right? It's empowering to
Yes.
follow that vibe
Yes.
and just what feels right. And the building is saying, I want this, I don't want this, right? I mean, you're listening
I
to the
think so,
building.
or we just see ourselves as stewards.
That's what I mean. It's
You know, we
what
cringe
is,
when someone says you own the Integratron. You can't you own the Integratron. You know, if I do, you do. So
it's so, I'll tell you a quick story about that that totally relates, and I know you'll appreciate it because we had the Tibetan monks come over to you. When somebody wanted to buy the NanoMandala piece, I went to the monks and I said, you know, somebody wants to buy it and I would donate this money to you. And they said, you can't buy the mandala. And I was like, what? He said, they can give us the money to do our work and they can take care of it, but they can't buy it. And that's exactly what you're saying. It's
yeah, I
exactly what
guess
you're
it is.
saying.
It's a perfect. I mean, because when you say that someone wants to buy the mandala,
Yeah.
I think, well, how can you?
I
It's
mean, people look at it as an artwork and a piece,
right,
and
right,
you can install it and that's all fine, but they can't own it. And it's almost impossible for an art collector to think that.
right,
So when I went back to them and I said, well, you can't really own it. They were like, what do you mean?
right.
We're gonna give you the money. No, you're gonna give them the money and you're
Yes,
gonna take care of it.
yes,
And it just was like impossible for them to grok. Like, what do you
yes,
mean? But
yes.
it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, no,
Yes,
you're taking care of this.
yes,
And it costs us money and we need to work around it. But,
yes,
producing something costs money, taking care of it costs money. That's different.
yes,
You need money to operate so that you can take care of it. That's really another way of thinking.
yes.
Yeah.
It's just like grease for the wheel. You know, we
Yes.
need to
Yeah.
be able to grease the wheel.
And
It
keeping it alive. I mean, it really was on the edge when you got it.
yes, it really
It
was.
truly was. It really was. Somebody needs to take care of it. And you made a garden out of it. And the people who
Yes,
come, they're experiencing something analog. They're experiencing crystal sounds inside the
yes,
dome. That's it. No big
yes,
productions, no tanks, no
yes,
big producers walking around and, it's a whole different deal.
yes. It's you were such a big part of that with those
Oh, I
monks.
was just so honored to be
They
there. And
really,
it's,
I think they broke a spell or something there, or just do you remember when they said we'd like to do a prop would you like us to do a property blessing?
yes.
And I remember Nancy saying, what's involved in that? We just were always like, what exactly is involved in what you're going to do? She's such a good steward. And they sat us down in front of them inside the Integratron. We thought they were going to walk around and throw stuff in the bushes, and we had no idea. And they started their chanting. But he said, that beautiful monk, the one who could speak English,
Yes, Losang.
said, we will proceed to remove bad agreements, evil deeds, sickness, whatever it was. I wish I had written it down because it was such a brilliant, as if that's what he was actually going to do. But guess what? That's actually what they did.
Yes.
And we had such a, I don't know how to explain it, almost like a roadblock or something with the dome wasn't finished. And we could never finish anything. We'd start out doing this and then this would break. And it was the most ADD, off the chain, all over the place. Everything was just connected in a stream of it can't be fixed and you can't get anything done. And it stopped it. And as soon as the monks did that blessing, where they sat Nan and I in front of their altar, and remember they threw rice at our heads?
Yes.
It was like fireworks going off
Yeah.
in our heads.
Yeah, that was very
And
beautiful.
we had to try not to start laughing. Like, what did we just say yes to? They're throwing rice at my face. But it changed everything. Our own viewpoint, how we saw it, or however, we didn't know what was happening. But right after that is when Patty came in as a partner, our third sister. And she kind of bought in a way that gave us a big leg up. And she's a paralegal, so she brought in all the help with all the legal things.
She was the skillful means was brought in.
Yes,
Yeah.
your monks.
I remember we were doing the Blue Morph that same time, and remember it was with the net. So I had different
Yes.
versions. That one was with the net. And the monk said, oh yeah, well, we do that too. We capture things in a net. And I thought, wow, we're doing so many things that they understand, right? That we just kind of intuitively create as, feeling the vibes, right? And
Yes,
going
and
along
the
with
we're
it.
all connected thing.
Yeah. So we're gonna do it again, hopefully.
Yes.
I'm really hoping to build medicine Buddha mandala, NanoMandala, with the same group of monks, actually, it turns out, and the Pure Land Farms in Topanga. We'll see. We applied for some funds, and hopefully it comes together, and then we take it back full circle to healing, because you're a healer, and you are art science healer inside the Integratron. It's the most beautiful thing to hear your story and to just see how it's going to keep going. And something else magnificent is waiting to happen.
Yes. Well,
we just need the healing.
We have
now.
you to thank for so much of it, because the art sci, I mean, for us, it was kind of like art and science, art and science, art and science. And you know how we are. We have all this art shame from our childhood, and you've just busted us out of all of that. And the whole art sci thing is it's so connected. I love what our historian said. We hired an architectural historian to take the dome into a national landmark on the register.
Great.
And the way he describes it is that the building, what he thinks, is that the building was built to rejuvenate human beings, but human beings have rejuvenated the Integratron.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I always choke up a little bit when I say it.
That is so beautiful. It's a dialogue. It's a beautiful, beautiful dialogue. And it's just, I really feel that something more, that the purpose of it is to help heal the planet now with so much going on. It's such a tough transition. It's a really harsh way to enter into the new era, new paradigm, whatever it is that we've been anticipating since we were kids, right? And it could have been easier, but the, blowback is so harsh that we need the healing. We need people
Mhm.
to feel it, to experience it, not to preach to them, not to do it on their phones, but to really experience it. So it's one of the spots on the planet, and there's others, and just to see where it's going to land. I just feel it for you. And I'm so grateful for all the work you do and for holding the space in the Integratron, and Nancy and Patty. Just beautiful sister story, also, the triangle of these women. And
Yes.
you're all very different. This is also so beautiful. Like when you see the three of you, you wouldn't even know you're sisters.
That's right.
It's amazing, and yet working together all this time, it's gorgeous.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes.
much for sharing this. It's so lovely.
I'm your biggest fan, and
Oh,
you've taught us so much.
mutual admiration club. Thank you so much. Really,
Shine on.
shine on, you crazy diamond. Love, love, love.
Peace out.